This is All India Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you International Women's Day special program, Empowering Women, Empowering the Nation. Moderator is Lucy Gabriel Chattopadhyay, AIR correspondent.
International Women's Day, a global day celebrating the social, economic, cultural and political achievements of women. In simple words, it means that each human, no matter their gender, has the advantage of all human rights, respect, power and opportunities to form choices about their lives. Gender bias remains a significant impediment to women's career advancement, and this is the theme of this year's Women's Day. And today we have with us eminent women spreading the message of Nari Shakti. Well, friends, today we have with us Madam Niharika Vora, the Vice Chancellor at the Delhi Skill and Entrepreneurship University and a Professor of IIM Ahmedabad. So, ma'am, what are your thoughts on the gender bias issue, the theme which has been selected as an International Women's Day this year?
Well, I think we are 50% of the population, give and take 1 or 2% here and there. And yet, if you see our representation in various fields, we are not 50%. So this is just a good example of how possibly there are various factors, including biases, that are playing in women's representation not being equal in all fields.
Ma'am, as we are celebrating the Azadi Ka Mahotsav, all of us know all over India we are celebrating this. And what are the changes that you might have noticed?
There has been a move from, let's say, 75 years ago or when we got independent to today. And over the years, temporarily, there has been more and more equity that women have received, and that women are showing themselves in various fields over the years. So I would say that there is greater participation, greater acceptance of women in all fields.
Would you like to give a message to all the women?
I would say that we must possibly raise and work with the men around us to have the conversation of equality, and we must respect all other women around us and really love the concept of sisterhood.
Any thoughts on if you were to rewind your clock and go back to the 60s and compare to the women in the 60s and what they're now in the 20th century?
I see two things that are happening. Of course, at a certain level, you see a lot of women in the public spaces. You see girls and women enrolling in colleges, studying, joining the workforce, and so on and so forth. And yet, what is very sad and possibly baffling is that India is the only country where the number of women in the workforce have actually gone down in the world. So we are 10% to 11% decrease in women participation in the workplace has happened over the last 10 years. And that's really baffling. So while we have made so much progress, but the same percentage of women are not joining the workforce. So at a social level, yes, you see women being more free in the society, but at the same time, there's something that's happening which we need to possibly think and work on.
Thank you very much for talking to us all and imparting a message across to all the women. Thank you very much, ma'am. We now have with us Simran Sodhi, a journalist. Could you tell us something about the Nari Shakti which we are facing now?
Nari Shakti is a very important concept, and I think it's also more important because this comes from our own culture. When we say Nari Shakti, we are also emphasizing the cultural code that if you look at India's history, if you look at culture, as you pointed out, also trained in Odissi, if you see our dances also, the power and the strength of a woman, it's something which has come to us through ages. So this is not a new concept as such, but sometimes I feel maybe with time we forgot. And it's time to, one, recognize our own roots and recognize the fact that the strength of a woman or Nari Shakti has been a concept in our culture and in our thought process forever, and that's something that needs to be relooked and reworked on.
You as an author, do you reflect that in your writing?
Yes, very much. The fact that I'm an author also comes from the fact that as children, we were very encouraged to read, to write, our parents. That is something I would like to reach out to every young woman today, that read and write and develop your own thoughts. It will give your own personality, and then you decide how you want to take it forward.
Thank you very much, Simranji. It was a pleasure talking to you, spreading a beautiful message on Nari Shakti. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, friends, we now have with us Rita Ganguly, an exponent of Indian classical arts and accomplished dancer, musician and vocalist. Ma'am, what do you see with the growth of this, especially in India? How has it changed? You must have seen it evolving since your younger years and now, like in the 60s and now in the 20th century. How do you reflect on that?
The word woman's liberation ought to have different significant meaning to the Western world and to us. We belong to a culture where the concept of women's liberation or liberated woman has been there right from the beginning. Let us not get confused. Are we trying to be equal like men? No, definitely not. So all these fights, to my mind, to wear trousers like that and behave like, we have nothing against men. We have to be liberated so that whatever work we wish to do, we should be allowed to achieve it. That is because the best example we have is in our country is Mirabai, who was a queen, regularly married, but she liberated herself and she saw to it that for her pursuance of whatever she wanted to do was accepted. So that is the fight we have. It's no point we are going wrong way. Why should we look beautiful? Why? Why is it important that we should tuck our eyebrows and wax our legs? Why should we insist only in looking good? So that means for whom we want to look, it's not required. I mean, when we were adolescents, we never did all this. We studied hard and we saw to it we get the first position in the merit list. That is our aim. We have nothing against men. Our main problem is with other women who are not liberated. What we are wearing is not the concern. There is no fight against men. We don't want to be equal. Wish you all the best for all the women.
Thank you very much, Madam Rita Ganguly, and it was a real pleasure having you online with us. Friends, we have Dr. Vaishali Bhardwaj with us now, Professor and Head of the Department of Gastroenterology, PGIMER, RML Hospital, and she has various publications. Well, it's indeed a pleasure to have you here with us. Dr. G, as a doctor, would you like to share your thoughts on Nari Shakti?
Being a doctor and being a woman hasn't been easy. It comes with a lot of plus and minuses. And since today we're talking about International Women's Day and removing the gender bias, I will say that, yeah, it is difficult, but it is not something which is not achievable.
Anything that you would like to share on this issue of gender bias?
Yeah, a lot of changes have happened since I came into medical profession. When we were in our medical college, we were equal 50-50, 50 females and 50 males. But as I went into my further studies, during my post-graduation, I was the only female among 10 males. Then for my super specialization, again, it was the same story. But now, over the years, things are changing and I see more and more females joining our field, because gastroenterology used to be a male-dominated field previously. But these days, a lot of females are coming, so I feel the gender bias is slowly decreasing in our field itself.
Would you like to share a message for aspiring students?
Strive harder, reach your dreams. Of course, there will be issues, but if there are people who will pull you down, there will be people who will be there on whom you can lean on and they'll help you. So keep progressing, keep reaching for your goals.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
It was
Thank
a pleasure
you so much.
talking to you.
Yeah.
Well, friends, we have with us Dr. Rashmi Singh, an IAS officer and is the current director of WCD with an additional charge of Special Secretary and Director, Social Welfare Government of Delhi. How is your ministry celebrating the Women's Day?
Department basically with the government of Delhi, and in terms of celebration, it's not that the department individually would be talking about its schemes and programs, but rather the idea is to celebrate the achievement of each girl who is special, each woman who is special. Now, how that is being done is last evening, let me tell you that at one of our very unique complexes, which is called Nirmal Shaya in Delhi, where are girls from very difficult circumstances, women from difficult circumstances who have braved all kinds of challenges in life, they are there. So for me, the actual celebration celebration was in terms of like recognizing the fact that they could come up on the stage, talk about the journey, feel a sense of like solidarity with each other in terms of like being able to encourage them that life is not an open and shut case. There's so much more to look forward. And we have all the caregivers, their superintendents, encouraging them, showcasing various kinds of vocational initiatives which are happening. So these may not be in the nomenclature of a definite scheme, but the idea for empowerment of women, beginning with like looking at who's most vulnerable, who needs to be given a hope in life, who has nothing like probably look forward. If you do not infuse that spirit of optimism in them, that life holds so much more promise. Opportunities are there, but you need to know about it. So that's the kind of thing which in my view is more important. It is celebrating womanhood as a whole and facing all the insecurity, the challenges with all the positive forces, positivism which we can have to give confidence to each other. Each woman is capable of giving so much in her individual life, in the family, in the society, in the nation's growth and development. But she has to like also recognize the innate potential within her to be able to like जो हम कहते हैं प्रतिभा का विकास. तो अवसर तो है, अपॉर्चुनिटी तो है, लेकिन प्रतिभा के विकास के लिए हमें कॉन्फिडेंस भी चाहिए, सेल्फ अवेयरनेस चाहिए, सेल्फ कॉन्शियसनेस चाहिए. तो ये है हमारी मेरी नजर में सबसे बड़ा एक सेलिब्रेशन ऑफ वुमनहुड.
The Prime Minister is also stressing on Nari Shakti.
Yes, so the Shakti is like, innate in the woman, but the idea is to evoke the sense of power, that empowerment. And for me, power and empowerment is not just about self. If a woman feels, she feels that she's able to help, like the more vulnerable, maybe a girl child in need, who's like probably lost both parents during COVID. She's from a poor family. She needs to be reached out to be able to like bring the various kinds of linkages with schemes and services for this girl child. Or maybe a woman who has nobody, but like there are opportunities. So link her with the schemes and services. So that's real empowerment. It's also about a process. You have to go through a process of like the journey itself where there are challenges, yet like you're on the right track. तो मुझे लगता है कि जो दिशा और दशा बदलने की बात होती है ना महिलाओं के लिए, वो सब कुछ संभव होता है फिर.
It was indeed a pleasure talking to you and you spreading the message of Nari Shakti. I'm sure all the women who are listening to us at the moment will be absolutely enlightened. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Thank you, and all the
much.
best. And I really wish from the bottom of my heart, not just for today, but like real empowering journey for all the women who are listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. We now have with us Shobna Narayan, a recognized Indian Kathak dancer and a career officer with the Indian Audit and Account Service. She's been performing all over India and internationally. And of course, she has the Padma Shri and been trained by the late Bridget Maharaji. Being a renowned Kathak dancer and career officer, how do you relate this to the gender bias?
I never thought in terms of gender bias throughout my life. I just thought that, if I am doing my work is good and I am sincere and honest about it, it will be recognized or not recognized. I mean, if it is not good, then it will not be recognized. But if it's good, then it will be recognized irrespective of my gender. So I've always had that attitude in life, and I've never believed in if it was because I was a girl or I was a woman and this happened to me or that happened to me. I feel that in society, if I go with a preset mind, that means I'm showing my own weakness. This same society creates obstacles for you, but if you tackle the situation properly, and I've always seen that same society comes around and, accepts you for what you are.
You as an eminent woman would like to spread the message of Nari Shakti.
Nari Shakti comes from within. There is a Shakti within each one of us. And it is for us to recognize it. It is for us to develop it. First of all, we have to learn to understand our own positives, and stressing on the word our negatives. So we have to work on our negatives so that we make it more, sort of work on it towards a betterment. And that means that we just stay on our positives. That also has to be honed and polished.
That was indeed a very beautiful message to all our listeners. Thank you very much for giving us your precious time.
Thank you.
Women empowerment, Nari Shakti, overcomes all barriers of gender bias. All that is needed is to mobilize not only the civil society, but all of society. It is time we all see gender as a spectrum instead of two sets of opposing ideals.
You were listening to International Women's Day special program, Empowering Women, Empowering the Nation. Moderator was Lucy Gabriel Chattopadhyay, AIR correspondent. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel News on AIR Official. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.